Why early humans preferred nighttime travel. Picture our ancient ancestors, millions of years ago, on the African savannah. As the sun sets, a deep, profound darkness falls, broken only by the pinpricks of stars. We often imagine them as small, terrified groups of hominins, huddled in caves or scrambling up trees, paralyzed by the strange sounds of the night and just waiting for the safety of sunrise. For most of human history, the night was seen as genuinely, lethally dangerous. But what if that's only half the story? What if, for our ancestors, the darkness wasn't just a time of terror, but a cloak of opportunity? What if they didn't just survive the night, but used it? The story of our relationship with the dark is far more complex than we think. It's not really about a preference for night, but a strategic and intelligent use of it. A series of clever adaptations that allowed our ancestors to turn a world of danger into a world of advantage. To understand why our ancestors would ever risk the dark, we have to appreciate the brutal reality of the day. For much of our evolutionary story in Africa, the sun was a relentless, oppressive force. Surviving its glare required a specific set of biological tools. Our ancestors evolved to become remarkable endurance runners. We stood upright, which some researchers suggest may have helped reduce our direct exposure to the sun's rays. We lost most of our body hair and developed an incredible ability to sweat, allowing us to shed heat and stay on the move during the hottest parts of the day. These adaptations were revolutionary, but they came at a steep price, a massive need for water and energy. In brutally hot and arid places, traveling and hunting at peak heat could be a death sentence from heat exhaustion and dehydration. So, what do you do when the day itself is too dangerous? You wait, moving in the cooler hours of dusk. Dawn, or even under a bright moon, would have been a game-changing strategy for conserving precious energy and water. For some early human groups, the biggest threat wasn't a predator lurking in the bushes, but the giant burning star in the sky. Night travel wasn't a casual choice, it was a logical solution to a thermal problem. It was a way of outsmarting the very environment that shaped them. Of course, solving the heat problem brought on a much more immediate one: predators. To say the night was risky is a dramatic understatement. For our early ancestors, the world after sunset was a completely different reality, one where they were seriously outmatched. We humans have terrible night vision compared to the creatures that evolved to own the darkness. While we were fumbling around in a blurry black and white world, an array of formidable nocturnal predators, like large cats and hyenas, were in their element. Their eyes could gather the faintest moonlight, turning the landscape into a high-contrast hunting ground. Fossil evidence paints a grim picture of this. At sites like the Swartkrans Cave in South Africa, the remains of our hominin ancestors are found mixed with animal bones. A chilling analysis of tooth marks on these fossils suggests that many of our ancestors didn't just die in these caves, they were dragged there as prey. Leopards, known for stashing their kills, are a likely culprit. For early humans, every snapping twig, every unfamiliar scent, every rustle in the grass could signal a fatal encounter. Sticking together in groups offered some safety in numbers, but the disadvantage was clear. The night was a sensory minefield where they were no longer at the top of the food chain. Any decision to be active at night had to be weighed against the terrifyingly real threat of being hunted. Given these dangers, how could any group of early humans possibly survive the night, let alone travel in it? The answer lies in one of our species' greatest superpowers: social cooperation. Our ancestors didn't face the darkness alone. They faced it together. And new research suggests they may have done this with a brilliant, almost unconscious strategy. The general idea is known as sentinel behavior, where in group-living animals, it's beneficial if someone is always awake or easily woken, to watch for danger. For a long time, this was just an idea. But then, A fascinating study looked at the sleep patterns of the Hadza people of Tanzania, a modern hunter-gatherer group whose lifestyle can offer insights into our past. Using sensors, researchers tracked the sleep of 33 Hadza adults for 20 days. The results were astonishing. Out of more than 220 hours of observation, there were only 18 minutes where every single adult was sound asleep at the same time. This wasn't some formal guard duty. It was the natural result of having a mix of people in the group. Our natural sleep patterns, or chronotypes, change as we age. The younger night owls tended to stay up late, while the older morning larks woke up very early. This, combined with normal sleep disruptions, created a near-continuous state of low-level vigilance. There was almost always someone awake, semi-awake, or in a light stage of sleep, able to spot a predator, tend the fire, or hear a child's cry. This staggered sleep created a living, breathing alarm system, a social shield against the terrors of the night. It suggests our ancestors may have been protected by the very structure of their multi-generational families. This kind of unconscious, collective intelligence is incredible to think about. It's one of several key adaptations that allowed us to navigate a dangerous world. Which adaptation do you find more impressive? The physical ability to sweat and out-endure prey, or the social ability to create a 24/7 watch without even planning it? Let me know in the comments. If social cooperation was one pillar of surviving the night, the other, without a doubt, was fire. The control of fire didn't just change the game, it created a new one. While the exact timeline is still debated by scientists, evidence for the controlled use of fire gets much stronger around 400,000 years ago, fundamentally altering our ancestors' relationship with darkness. First, and most obviously, fire provides light. It pushes back the absolute blackness, creating a bubble of safety and visibility. It's also a weapon. Most nocturnal predators are instinctively wary of flames. A well-maintained campfire could act as a powerful deterrent, persuading a curious predator that this group of primates was more trouble than it was worth. It wasn't a perfect shield, but it dramatically tipped the scales of survival in our favor. Fire also extended the day. The hours after sunset were no longer just for fearful waiting. They became a time for social bonding, tool making, and storytelling. In her work with the Juhoansi people of the Kalahari, anthropologist Polly Wiesner observed that while daytime conversations were mostly practical, nighttime talk around the fire was rich with stories, jokes, and music. This may have been the cradle of culture, happening in the extra hours gifted by the flame. And what about traveling at night? Fire became portable. Archaeologists in Europe have found what appear to be ancient stone lamps, simple carved stones with a depression for animal fat and a wick. Modern experiments recreating torches from materials our ancestors had, like juniper wood and pine resin, show just how effective this could be. These reconstructed torches can cast light for several meters and burn for over half an hour, making them a plausible tool for navigating terrain or exploring caves. Fire wasn't just a beacon, it was a tool you could carry, turning darkness from a barrier into a landscape you could move through. Even with all these incredible tools, social sentinels and portable fire, there's a deep, primal part of us that remains uneasy in the dark. That feeling you get in a dimly lit basement or walking down an unlit street isn't just a modern quirk. It's an evolutionary echo. Psychologists believe that fear of the dark is a prepared fear. We aren't necessarily born with it, but our brains are wired to learn it very, very easily. Think of it as an ancient survival circuit. For countless generations, the individuals who were a little more anxious after dark, who flinched at strange noises, and who stayed close to the fire were the ones more likely to see the sunrise. The fearless and careless ones, they were more likely to become a predator's late-night snack. That caution was an adaptive advantage. Our brains evolved to treat uncertainty as a threat, and nothing is more uncertain than a world you can't see. When our vision is compromised, our other senses go on high alert, and our brains start filling in the blanks, often with the worst-case scenarios. So, when you feel that chill run down your spine in the dark, you're not being irrational. You're feeling the faint, lingering legacy of a time when the darkness was genuinely dangerous, passed down from every one of your ancestors who survived the night. So, did early humans prefer nighttime travel? The honest answer is no, not in the way we'd prefer a scenic route. They were not nocturnal creatures, but they also weren't the paralyzed victims of the night we so often imagine. The truth is far more impressive. Our ancestors were brilliant opportunists and strategists. They treated the night as a frontier to be managed, constantly weighing risk against reward. They moved in the cooler, darker hours when the sun was a greater threat than a potential predator. They used their greatest strengths, social ingenuity and technological innovation, to beat back the dangers. They created a shield of community vigilance through their sleep patterns and pushed away the shadows with the light of fire. The night was never truly conquered, but it was navigated. It was a time of immense danger, yes, but also a time of quiet cooperation, cultural birth, and strategic survival. Our ancestors didn't just endure the darkness, they learned how to use it, and that made all the difference.